You've seen the story 100 times. Some random person goes viral and becomes an overnight success. But here's the twist. They didn't. Success almost never happens suddenly. It happens slowly, then steadily, and only then suddenly. Today, I'll show you the 4 stages that lead to lasting success and help you figure out which one you're in. This framework has helped countless people stay grounded when the progress feels invisible, but the payoff is inevitable. You see, we've glamorized the overnight success, those moments where someone blows up seemingly out of nowhere. And when that's the story we keep hearing, it's easy to feel like our own progress is too slow, like we're somehow stuck behind. But what if you're not behind at all? What if you're right on track? You just haven't hit suddenly yet. Here's the truth. All real success goes through 4 phases: slowly, steadily, suddenly, and stewardship. Let's take a few moments to talk about each of these in turn. Let's start by talking about slowly, this first phase of how you make progress in life. It starts out slowly because everything that ends up being big actually starts small. If you think about the classic example of the California redwood trees that grow to sometimes over 100 meters tall, and around the girth at the base they can be 12, 15, even 20 meters around, and you see these photos online of people joining hands, a dozen of them trying to reach around the base of this enormous giant of a tree. It's quite amazing to contemplate the fact that that behemoth of an object actually started life as a tiny single seed in the ground. And so that's a great reminder for us to realize that everything starts small, and our role is to not despise the seed. You might be in a small place right now and you might be thinking, I don't see a whole lot of growth. I'm not seeing a whole lot of progress, but I want you to stay with the process. And particularly as you're watching this channel, I want you to learn steadily to trust me, because I have helped thousands of people just like you to go from slowly into the outcomes that they really long to see in their life. But we've got to learn to stick with the process and realize what phase we're in. Let's talk about the second phase in this process. Let's take a moment to talk about steadily. We start off with moving slowly, and then we move into steadily, where it's not about speed. It's about rhythm and continuing to show up. And in today's world, that's really undervalued. It's underplayed. We talk about virality and blowing up a lot, but we don't really talk a lot about consistent rhythms. We don't talk about this idea of how important the process is often enough. I get it. The destination is exciting, and I've got things in my life where I can't wait to arrive at the destination just like you do, but I've got to play the same game. I've got to have consistent rhythm, and very importantly, I've got to keep on showing up. Because here's the truth. When I get happy about the slowly and then I continue with the steadily, it allows me the possibility or the opportunity to see phase 3 actually happen. And that's the one that we get excited about. That's the phase of suddenly. And as I said at the top, we know that the truth is things don't really happen suddenly. It's just that we hear people's stories towards the end of their process, and it looks a lot more sudden than it actually is. But the truth is, breakthrough comes to those who actually stayed, past tense, they stayed consistent. And so slowly becomes steadily. Steadily creates the opportunity for suddenly. And when we start to see those green shoots of growth, of course, gets very exciting. We've got progress, we've got momentum, things are starting to grow. And then if we get into phase number 4, we get to the truly exciting stage of our personal growth, where our life is moving ahead in the way that we'd like. We get to this 4th phase that I call stewardship. Now, you might be unfamiliar with that word, so let's break it down for a moment or two. What does stewardship actually mean? What it means is, it means the capacity or the ability to retain what has been earned. You know, you see some people who blow up or go viral, which we know they didn't really, but they blow up and they go viral, but they seem to vanish just as quickly as they emerged. And possibly it's because they didn't pay attention to phase 4 of stewardship, which is all about having the framework in place that helps you to maintain and retain all of those things that you've actually spent time working so hard for. Because when we get to this 4th phase, and we've gone through from slowly through to steadily, we've had the excitement of suddenly, and then we get to this beautiful word stewardship. When we get to that stage, the question becomes, will you multiply it or will you waste it? So this question of will we multiply what we've achieved or will we waste what we've achieved, it's so much more than just a motivational slogan or some kind of cute way of phrasing where we're at in life. It's so much more than that. It's actually about having a blueprint for sustainable, impactful growth. So if there is a process to progress, which there clearly is, we've got to ask the question, why do we so often miss this? Well, I want to identify 3 main reasons for you today, and maybe you'll relate to some of these. Maybe you can think about it for a while and see if this applies to you, but I've got 3 reasons here for us for why we miss this process of slowly, steadily, suddenly stewardship. Here's the first one here. We do live in a world of social media distraction. Now, everyone in the world has said that and is saying that, but we need to take a moment to understand how does that apply to today's session. There's so much distraction and distortion that we actually see only the highlight reels and not the backstory. Very few people online, as you will have discovered, are posting about their process and how difficult things were to begin with. People love to post highlights and end results, but we need an increasing number of people who will talk about the process of growth as well. Number 2, we've got this issue, which is kind of related to number 1. We've got this issue of comparison pressure. In other words, we spend too much time and energy looking sideways. We're looking to the left and to the right, and we're exploring what someone else has done and how much they've achieved. And sometimes we feel embarrassed or we feel shamed because somebody else might be further ahead in our estimation. But actually, we've got to get better at looking forward with our own purpose. There's a 3rd contributor to why we're not so great at this process, and it's this idea that I call impatience culture. Now, if we're being honest, and I'm going to be, I sometimes suffer from this as well, where we get into this habit of believing that everything in life is instant because of the fact that so many things are. You know, we've come way beyond the old metaphor of the microwave generation where you could heat up your dinner in a few minutes, and we've come into this world of AI where these large language models and the learning models that are out there can produce results for us in seconds, not minutes. And it's reshaping our brains to believe that everything can happen that quickly. But the truth is, personal growth doesn't happen like that. When we're trying to make progress in our life, especially if we're starting in a place where we feel stuck, and I talk to people all the time, especially middle-aged people who get into a rut, they feel stuck, they don't know how to break out. And then their next challenge becomes, I don't know how to grow. I don't even know what the first step should be. Well, I work with people like that all the time, and I have thousands of stories of helping people through that phase of getting unstuck, getting growing, and then eventually getting to the exciting destination of getting their life upgraded to the life they always wanted to live. But it all starts with understanding growth doesn't happen overnight. The real truth is that the suddenly moment only happens because of the unseen, slow and steady work, leaving that seed in the ground, watering it, looking after it when nobody can see a thing, until one day that magnificent seed in the ground finally starts to produce the green shoots that we've always hoped for. So, here's what we all need to do. First of all, we need to recognize the phase that we're actually in. Are you in a slowly phase in your career? Are you in a steadily phase perhaps? Is there some other part of your life where you might be in different phases? Learn to ask yourself the question, am I in slowly, steadily, or maybe I'm even in stewardship? And really, what we want to do is honor and give respect to the phase that we're actually in. Because the truth is, you can't live in a phase that you're not in. We want to get out of the habit of trying to skip it. We want to embrace it fully. We want to track our consistency just as much, if not more, than we track our results. The truth is, what you measure, you multiply. And so we want to keep on reminding ourselves of the powerful truth, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. I'm going to say that again. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. One of the great things that you can do for yourself on this journey is to get a hold of the text by Malcolm Gladwell called Outliers. It's a fantastic read and really helps to reshape our thinking around this idea of growth processes and how they actually happen. I really hope you're enjoying this content today, and maybe as you're listening to this, you might also be thinking about a friend or a colleague or family member that you know is thinking to themselves, I should be further along by now. Well, if you do know that person, why don't you do a few things? Why don't you share this episode with them, first of all? Secondly, for you and your friends, why don't you subscribe to my newsletter that I write called Everyday Mentor? There's a link in the description below, and I write regularly about all of the subjects that are actually going to help you to get growing and get to the kind of life that you want to live. You know, I've been doing this for nearly 28 years, and I've got, as I said, thousands of stories of people who have broken out of their rut, gotten personal growth happening, and are now living in a fantastic place. And I know that I can do that for you. For some of you, you're already saying, I need more help. Can I work with you? Well, if that's you, you're the perfect candidate for someone who's ready to work directly with me, because I've actually written and recorded a very, very comprehensive training course that's all about getting unstuck, getting growing, and getting upgraded. And if you'd like to make yourself open to that opportunity, there's a link for that course in the description also. You will love that, and that will change your life. It will literally transform the way you live. So why don't you jump on those opportunities today? Here's the truth, guys. There's no such thing as an overnight success. There is only the process of slowly, steadily, suddenly, and stewardship. And this is the path that I want you to stay on. Trust me, if you commit to this, your moment will come. You will see growth. You will see breakthrough. You will have a story to tell. And if you stay this journey with the channel, get involved, I promise you, if you let me work with you, I can hold your hand. I can get the results that you're looking for if you'll go with this process and take this content in, because it'll transform the journey that you're on. Well, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what phase you think you're in. So why don't you jump in the comments and type slowly or steadily or suddenly. If you're at stewardship, I'd love to hear that as well. Drop that in the comments below and we can learn from each other about where we're up to. And I'd love to see you in another episode on the Everyday Mentor channel real soon.